Right now, the city of Madison unveils two plans for its 2025 budget. How this November's ballot could impact you. Plus, you might have noticed a surge of political ads when flipping through the channels, the impact these messages could have on your vote. And measuring your blood pressure, how your posture can skew the results. It's all ahead on News 3 Now at 10. The city of Madison asking voters to check yes on more property taxes. That's because the city's operating budget is facing a $22 million deficit. Today, Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway unveiled what the city's 2025 budget could look like depending on if a November referendum passes. Our Ellie LaLiberte has a breakdown of what this year's proposal could mean for you.
The operating budget is in a structural deficit, but the mayor says there is an option that could help, and it all comes down to what voters decide to do in November.
In November, there's a simple choice on the ballot.
That choice is a referendum, asking voters to help make up for a $22 million deficit in the operating budget. If approved, it would increase property taxes for the average homeowner by $230 annually.
We can choose to make those investments, or we can choose to back away from them.
Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway giving voters a choice. One version of the proposed budget details what happens if a referendum passes, and an alternative details what happens if it does not. If voters approve the referendum, the city will add 2 new garbage machine operators to keep up with the city's growth.
We've really reached the point where if we don't have new folks to drive a new truck, we're just not going to be able to pick up the trash.
It would also reallocate money to the library system for an imagination center. Rhodes-Conway says that proposal isn't much different from previous years.
It's essentially a cost to continue budget. We are not proposing new big ideas.
However, if the referendum does not pass, that significantly changes what the budget looks like.
We are projecting $5.6 million in cuts to services, in addition to the $3.4 million that's in the executive operating budget.
It will impact 18 full-time positions, reduce Metro Transit's budget, and limit public works, library, and public safety services.
Over the past 14 years, we've asked the majority of our staff to do more with less.
But the hope is that it won't come to that, because that could mean these cuts won't be the first.
In addition to cuts that would be necessary to make in 2025, it also anticipates that we would need to continue to make cuts year over year if other funding sources are not available.
Both versions of this operating budget will head to the Common Council to be discussed. But for now, reporting in Madison, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
And we're a few weeks in now to Madison's new bus rapid transit system, and the city is still working through some growing pains. Today, the system canceled stops on Route B due to bus issues. That line runs from downtown Madison on East Wash all the way to Sun Prairie. The cancellation comes from a shortage in the Flyer electric bus fleet, which is caused by buses on Route B using a different charging process than the buses on Route A. We'll continue to keep you posted on the route and fleet if any more changes occur. The warm-up has already started across southern Wisconsin. Let's head to the patio for more on those temperatures. Here's meteorologist Jacob Madison. Jacob?
Yeah, temperatures right after they warm up, they're going to come crashing down. We're going to have a little bit of a roller coaster in that regard, but we are still expected to remain dry. Now let's take a look at the current conditions. Right now we're seeing temperatures right in the upper 40s, 47 degrees in Madison, still seeing mostly clear skies. Continuing to see upper 40s, kind of in the middle to upper 40s for northern Dane County, but still in the middle 50s in southern Dane County. And further north of that, temperatures are starting to drop into the lower 40s, and we are going to see some areas in the 30s, especially further north, where there is a frost advisory for Juneau and Adams County until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, where we could see those temperatures getting close to freezing, likely going to stay above that level, but some patchy frost is possible by the time we get to the early morning hours on Wednesday. Now, looking at the overnight forecast for the entire area, lows will mostly be in the lower 40s with mostly clear skies. And then for tomorrow, let me go back for a second. Tomorrow, yeah, here we go. We are going to see plenty of sunshine, high temperatures right around 70, but those temperatures are going to continue to get warmer. But right after they get warmer, we're going to see the coolest temperatures of the season so far early next week. I'll talk more in detail about that and give an update on Hurricane Milton coming up a little bit later.
Jacob, thank you. Ahead of the November presidential election, Republicans are challenging all aspects of mail-in voting in battleground states. Swing states like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan are still seeing a high volume of mail-in and absentee voting. In battleground states, that's prompted multiple lawsuits from Republicans. They're challenging everything from whether mail-in ballot envelopes are properly sealed to whether they are postmarked correctly. Democrats have also been waging legal fights to ensure that those votes are counted. As rhetoric around election integrity continues to spread, we're looking ahead to what you can expect when you cast your vote at the polls. Federal law bans intimidation, threats, and coercion at any time during the voting process. It's also illegal to spread misinformation to prevent people from casting their ballots. Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald says he's not worried about any instances of intimidation happening at Wisconsin polling places, but state election officials and poll workers have still been preparing to make the process as secure and streamlined as possible.
There hasn't been any efforts to sort of attack polling places. That didn't happen in 2020. We haven't heard about any plans along those lines. So I think it's very safe to vote in person on Election Day. No one should be afraid to vote. It's your right. It's your responsibility.
The American Civil Liberties Union reports that instances of voter intimidation are, quote, rare and unlikely, but in the case that they occur, you should report any incidents to an election official. President Biden makes a rare stop in Milwaukee since taking a step back after ending his re-election bid. The president spotlighting his administration's effort to replace the nation's toxic lead pipes and the work being done by the Milwaukee Workforce Hub to create thousands of jobs for underrepresented groups. The president then headed to Pennsylvania to campaign for the Harris-Walz ticket. And First Lady Jill Biden will be back in Madison next week. Dr. Biden will campaign for the Harris-Walz ticket on October 14th. She's expected to talk about the vice president's economic policy and reproductive rights. What time and location of that visit have not yet been released. We'll keep you updated online and on air when that information becomes available. Tonight, Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance hits the campaign trail in the battleground state of Michigan. The Ohio senator delivered remarks to a crowd in Detroit. He spoke about the auto industry and the need to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Senator Vance also held a rally out in Denver, Colorado. In addition to the campaign stops, the candidates are flooding Wisconsin's airwaves with political ads. But just how effective are they? Imagine you have a fictitious $100 to spend on your campaign message. How many TV ads do you buy? Do you spend that money on mailers, digital ads? It can be a different story depending on if you're the Harris campaign or a local state Senate candidate. We spoke with an expert in political ad strategy. He says these campaigns pick their spots very carefully.
A Packers Sunday football game costs a lot of money, but if you're at the top of the ticket or you're a U.S. Senate candidate, it may be a really wise investment because there are so many eyeballs on it. So in many cases, it's going to depend on your objectives and your the office that you're running for.
Experts say a down ballot candidate may have a harder time purchasing airtime in a highly competitive market like Wisconsin, where you have presidential and U.S. Senate candidates flooding the airwaves. The 2024 election is forecast to be the nation's most expensive federal election ever. Not a surprise there. A new analysis from the nonpartisan organization Open Secrets says spending to elect a president and members of Congress will hit at least $15.9 billion. Outside spending, including super PACs, is helping drive up that price tag. In this cycle, the top 5 mega donors to outside groups all support Republican candidates. The Environmental Protection Agency unveils a new rule hoping to deliver cleaner and safer water. The new policy calls for water utilities nationwide to replace lead service pipes within a decade. The White House says lead poisoning disproportionately affects lower income communities and communities of color. Lead piping for new plumbing was banned by the federal government back in 1986, but officials say tens of millions of people may still get their water from old lead plumbing systems. The EPA plans to invest more than $2.5 billion for pipe replacements and upgrades. Teenagers are spending more time online, and it appears to be playing a factor in their overall emotional health. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has released its Youth Risk Behavior Survey. It notes that more than 3/4 of high schoolers use social media several times a day. The survey finds the more frequently students are online, the more likely they were to feel depressed or even hopeless. The results are based on responses from more than 20,000 high school students in 155 schools across the nation. A new study suggests many people may not be getting accurate blood pressure readings due to their arm position. According to the CDC, nearly 120 million adults have high blood pressure in the U.S., and that puts them at risk of heart disease, stroke, and other significant health issues. Medical experts say having your arm in the wrong position during a blood pressure check can result in significantly higher readings.
In order to diagnose hypertension, the first step is getting an accurate blood pressure measurement. Inaccurate measurements, whether in the clinic or in the home, can lead to misdiagnosis or either over or under treatment.
And to get the most accurate readings, doctors say your arm should not be on your lap or dangling unsupported at your side. Instead, it should be resting at chest height. Other tips to follow include avoiding exercise, tobacco, nicotine, and alcohol for at least 30 minutes before you get your blood pressure checked. Well, after the break on News 3 Now at 10, high temperatures on the way ahead of a cool down next week, plus bracing for Hurricane Milton, the billions in damages being projected ahead of that storm's landfall. Stay with us.
My name is Bill. I am retired. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I live here in Wisconsin. I am not a political person, but Eric Hovde doesn't understand how important Social Security and Medicare are around here. I'm on Social Security, and Hovde said he absolutely supported cuts to Social Security and Medicare. Imagine working longer, paying into the system, and then poof, you're paying your bills with less. He knows it. Cutting Social Security and Medicare will cost us. He just doesn't care.
WIN-Senate is responsible for the content of this message.
Be the scariest house in the block this Halloween at Menards.
This is a hallway. Doesn't evoke much feeling. But to those facing cancer or a complex condition, it feels like relief. Because all the doctors, treatments, and technology you've been fighting to find, they're all right here, under one roof, connected by hallways instead of highways. East Park Medical Center, coming soon. UW Health, remarkable.
Stanton Optical believes eye care should be affordable. Right now, for only $135, you get 2 pairs of progressives, plus all this. All that costs over $200 everywhere else. Book your eye exam today. Stanton Optical, easy's our thing. Welcome to Too Good to Guess. Can you guess how much 2 pairs of progressives, a free eye exam, and anti-glare lens upgrade will cost at Stanton Optical? Only $135? Wow, a deal so good, every customer wins. Book your eye exam at Stanton Optical today.
Dear sharp curves, don't spin your wheels. Toyota has more all-wheel drive sedans than any other brand. So you can bet your bottom dollar that we're sharper than ever. 'Cause we got traction, baby. Yours, Toyota sedans.
Right now, lease the all-new 2025 Camry for $309 a month, or lease a sporty new 2024 Corolla for $229 a month. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
It seems like everyone in Washington is either too far left or too far right. I'm Rebecca Cook, and like most folks in Wisconsin, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'll stand up to Democrats to fight for a secure border and stop wasteful spending. I'll stand up to extremists like Derek Van Orden, who wants to ban all abortions with no exceptions. Like you, I'm fed up and ready for change. I approve this message because it's time that we sent one of us to Congress.
The final sprint to Election Day is on, and News 3 Now this morning is focused on the races and the policies that matter to you, the voter.
We're taking a look at both sides of the issues and where the candidates stand so you can cast your vote with confidence.
3 for the people, only on News 3 Now. You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Welcome back. Well, Hurricane Milton hasn't even made landfall in the U.S., and it is already projected to be at least a $1 billion disaster. This, according to a NOAA official who confirmed both Helene and Milton's impacts will cost, quote, a multiple of tens of billions of dollars each. Lee Waldman is in Tampa ahead of Hurricane Milton's arrival.
Storm chasers from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration on a, quote, bumpy ride flying inside Hurricane Milton as it tracks toward Florida. The storm is expected to double in size before slamming into the Sunshine State late Wednesday, just 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene hit.
Well, my mom just lost everything in the Helene storm. Don't want to do it again or, potentially have anything bad happen.
The back-to-back storms left little time to clean up. Piles of debris still not picked up from Helene could be tossed around by Milton's winds and water, causing new hazards.
there's still a lot of debris out there. So it is a concern, and we're running out of time with that, which is another reason why the best thing that we can advise for people at this time is those are the areas that are required to evacuate, so please do so.
Officials are pleading for people to leave, warning that they risk being killed if they stay.
This is not survivable. I just want to tell you, if you think you're going to be able to stay out there and protect your property, it's not going to happen.
The storm's eye and eye wall could come ashore in the Tampa area and unleash record storm surge, potentially becoming the worst storm to hit the city in over 100 years.
If you're going to get out now.
NOAA officials warning that the destruction from Hurricane Milton is already roughly projected to cost, quote, multiple tens of billions of dollars. In Tampa, Florida, I'm Lee Waldman.
And cleanup continues in the hardest hit areas pummeled by Hurricane Helene. In Marshall, North Carolina, soldiers with the 1st Battalion of the 101st Airborne Division helping residents and volunteers dig through mud and debris. Meanwhile, Minnesota's National Guard transporting food, water, and supplies with Chinook helicopters. National Guard units now from 18 states have been supporting response efforts throughout impacted areas. Well, we are only about 2 weeks into fall now, but it has barely felt like it or looked like it outside, according to Travel Wisconsin's Fall Color Report, which is used by our meteorologists as well as the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. About half of the state is still 0 to 25% of the way to peak fall colors. And while for us it may be a question of, the jeans we wear, how thick our jacket is, for leaves their colors change based on their genes, or rather the chemical in their cells called chlorophyll, temperature and moisture as well.
So chlorophyll is that compound in our plants that produces green color, right? So during the summertime, spring and summertime, chlorophyll concentrations are high in the plant, and you have the green colors that we see up till the later part of the summer where those colors start to change.
And a severe drought can also delay the colors by a few weeks, and a very warm and rainy spell during fall can lower the intensity of those colors. Forecasts for temperatures get into the upper 20s or lower 30s are ideal to get those vibrant colors. It is fall, but the temperatures are set to feel more like summer a bit longer. Jacob has the latest on the warm temps and then the cool down.
Yes, we are going to see that cool down just after those temperatures peak later this week. And maybe by then, when those temperatures cool down, we will start to see some changes in the fall colors. But looking at the 3 things you need to know, lots of sunshine, even despite the temperatures. 80s possible on Friday, then 60s over the weekend. Early next week, it could be even cooler than that. Now, once again, we do have that frost advisory for northern counties, Juneau and Adams County, under that frost advisory until 9 a.m. Again, temperatures will be in the lower 40s to 30s for some areas, so it will be a chilly night. But by the afternoon tomorrow, we're going to see very nice conditions. Highs will be near 70, plenty of sunshine, really no wind, and temperatures will continue to rise after that. Now, if we take a look at the upper air patterns, the cool air is going to stay up in Canada through the end of the work week. Friday will be the warmest day, but then as we head towards the weekend, it's going to dip down and it's going to kind of stay cool for several days. Really Saturday through next Wednesday, we're going to see cooler temperatures, but it does look like those temperatures will rise back up by the end of the 10-day forecast. But if we look specifically at the high temperatures, 81 is the forecasted high for Friday, but then 67 Saturday, 61 Sunday, 57 is the forecasted high for Monday, and Monday night into Tuesday might be our first night where we drop below freezing of the season. Now, if you look, those 50s are not too far off from the normal, and by the end of the 10-day forecast, high temperatures on average will be in the upper 50s. So at that point, anything in the 60s will actually be above normal. It's just that time of the year as temperatures continue to cool down. All right, let's talk about Hurricane Milton. Category 5 storm, sustained winds up to 160 miles per hour. Gusts up to 200 miles per hour. We're talking about F3, F4 tornadoes, but this is a wide-scale storm, a very dangerous situation. It is expected to track right into the Tampa area, maybe a little bit to the south, but still, it is going to be a very catastrophic storm. We'll see very high storm surge, plenty of flooding, and obviously very strong winds will cause some wind damage as well. So here's a look at the timing of it. Things will really ramp up throughout the day tomorrow. It looks like it will make landfall sometime overnight Wednesday into early Thursday morning. But notice these winds, when they're blowing right into the coast, that's where the strongest storm surge will occur. And the eye expected to hit right around Tampa. You're likely going to see very strong winds and plenty of rainfall and flooding. It will impact the area throughout the day on Thursday as well as it diminishes over land and then pushes off into the Atlantic. Really, the only silver lining with this storm is the fact that it's not going to track north and impact the areas in the Carolinas dealing with the flooding, but still a very dangerous storm, also going to impact Orlando as well. Southern Florida, at least the eastern coast of southern Florida near Miami, not going to be as impacted. Neither will the Panhandle up north towards Jacksonville and Tallahassee, but total rainfall will be possibly over a foot. I mean, it's going to be a very, very devastating storm. Definitely our thoughts and prayers go out to the folks down south. Meanwhile, our weather, very quiet. Really, the only thing to talk about is that temperature swing. But as far as rainfall goes, we're really not going to see much of it.
And coming up in sports, a conference title was on the line in Middleton. Would the Cardinals or the Wolves win the Big Eight? Find out next on News 3 Now.
News 3 Now First Warn Weather is brought to you by Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor.
Discover a shopping and design experience as comfortable as the furniture. Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor. Schedule your free design consultation today.
Insurance costs going up? Erie Insurance has great coverages, rates, and claim service. And your rates won't increase because of celebrity advertising campaigns or sports stadium sponsorships. Call Affordable Insurance Solutions for your auto, home, or business quote and see what Erie Insurance could do for you.
At RG Heating and Air Conditioning, our promise to you is 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Guaranteed service, repairs, and replacements. Installing quality Trane equipment. Trust your home with RG Heating and AC.
With Sweeto Metal Roofing, you get quality metal roofs installed by the best in the business. A metal roof means no fading, no storm repairs, true sustainability, and lower energy bills.
Sweeto Metal Roofing, the last roof you'll ever need.
Shop the largest selection of Chevy trucks and SUVs in Wisconsin at Bergstrom Chevrolet. Lease a new Silverado 1500 starting at $355 a month, or a 24 Equinox EV starting at $299 a month. Stop in or shop and purchase at BergstromMadison.com.
Are undocumented immigrants that are the least likely to commit a crime?
Meet Edwin Ramos. This illegal immigrant murdered 3 Americans. An MS-13 gang member. Ramos was arrested for a gun crime, but as DA, Kamala didn't prosecute him. Months later, Ramos murdered a man and his 2 sons in cold blood.
Are undocumented immigrants that are the least likely to commit a crime?
Preserve America PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Kamala Harris is going to significantly raise taxes.
Taxes are going to have to go up?
Kamala's plan will raise families' taxes by nearly $2,600 a year. Under Kamala, prices have already soared. Now she'd make it worse with even higher taxes.
Taxes are going to have to go up?
President Trump will cut taxes again. No taxes on tips, overtime, or Social Security.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
A lot of law firms claim to be experts at handling injury cases that involve large trucks. But handling one trucking case does not make you an expert on the subject. Experience matters in these cases. One local firm has handled 25 trucking cases which resulted in payments over $1 million each, and hundreds of others as well. Because Wisconsinites know who to call when it's a must-win scenario. They call Habish, and Rotier. National reputation, hometown service.
Senator Baldwin claims she's doing something about the fentanyl crisis and says she got a major fentanyl bill passed. But Senator Baldwin is lying. The bill's main sponsor, Senator Tim Scott, had this to say.
As the primary sponsor, I've never had a single conversation with Cammie about this bill, period.
Career politicians like Senator Baldwin are always lying about something. Senator Baldwin, she's extreme, radical, and wrong.
I'm Eric Hovde, and I approve this message.
It's been 2 weeks of dominating series sweeps for the Badger women's hockey team. Mark Johnson's squad has outscored their opponents 34-2. But now it's about to get a little tougher. Wisconsin begins WCHA play this weekend with a top 3 showdown against Minnesota Duluth. The Badgers have won 3 of the last 4 against the Bulldogs and are looking forward to skating against some tougher competition.
This is awesome. I mean, I think we're fired up for it and we're ready to go to have that tougher game now. So I think it just kind of helps us keep the ball rolling and kind of figure out to see really where we're at now, especially starting with obviously a very competitive team within our league.
I think we're ready for it. You know, it's like I was saying, it's very physical, and so we're, you know, as healthy as we can be, and, you know, we're ready for that challenge, and so we're ready to see what we're made of.
And just a reminder to check out this week's Wisconsin Huddle. Fresh off a 3-touchdown performance against Purdue, Tawi Walker stopped by to preview UW's game against Rutgers. Show airs at 6:30 on Friday, right here on News 3 Now. We've been waiting for a match that Wisconsin volleyball has put it all together. Well, that match happened over the weekend against Washington. The Badgers were on point with their block, their passing, and their communication. You name it, they were locked in, and it showed. The real UW came away with a sweep, and now the challenge for Kelly Sheffield is to get his team to play like that again.
Game is beautiful when you are playing at a you know, when you've got all aspects kind of humming. So the key is being able to stack good on top of good matches on top of good matches, and trying to get some confidence and some momentum as we're moving forward.
High school girls volleyball, Middleton hosting Sun Prairie West in a battle of unbeatens in the Big 8. The Wolves getting a little tricky in the first set. Danny Smith fakes everyone out with the tip. Now this one was back and forth all night, and the Cardinals always seem to have an answer. They set up Aubrey Pertzborn, and she hammers it home for the point. Middleton wins it in 4 sets, and they are crowned Big 8 conference champs. Well, last week, Romeo Dobbs skipped 2 practices due to reported frustration with his role in the offense, which led to Matt LaFleur suspending the wideout for Sunday's game against the Rams. Well, all of that seems to be water under the bridge right now, because LaFleur expects him to be back at practice, earning the trust of his teammates on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's just one day at a time. You know, the one thing I'll say about it is, I mean, it's a pretty isolated incident. Like, this has not happened with him before, and I don't expect it to happen moving forward.
And we're back after this.
When replacing your windows, you want them to be built by the best and backed by the best. That's what you'll get with replacement windows only available from Renewal by Andersen. When you choose Renewal by Andersen and want to keep remodeling, you're not getting a one-size-fits-all product. From design and sales to manufacturing, installation, and service, we own the entire process. This month only, save $377 per window and $777 per patio door, plus 1 year no payment, no interest financing. Visit wannakeremodeling.com for more details.
They've been rocking audiences for decades. It's Foghat. Performing live November 30th at Ho-Chunk Gaming, Wisconsin Dells.
I just want to make
with special guest, The Empty Pockets. Tickets are on sale now through Ticketmaster. Legendary rock band Foghat. Live in concert November 30th at Ho-Chunk Gaming, Wisconsin Dells. Your odds are better here.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. And your Ford dealer is the place to start. With a full lineup of vehicles and available powertrains. Get your ideal combination of power and capability with gas, hybrid, or all electric. But more important than the power you choose is what you choose to do with it.
Choose FlexBuy on Escape and get 1.9% APR financing for 66 months plus $2,000 FlexBuy cash. Only at your local Wisconsin Ford dealer.
I worked as a truck driver for 36 years.
And then one day I got this letter.
Your retirement will be cut.
Will be cut in half.
You don't forget something like that.
Every paycheck we put money away. But because of Wall Street greed, boom, it was gone. But Tammy Baldwin saw what they were doing and wrote a bill to save our retirement.
Then she fought like hell to pass it.
What Tammy Baldwin did for our families, you don't forget something like that.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
Building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. Compare that to Trump. He fights for himself and his billionaire friends. He intends to enact a national sales tax, the Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle class families by $4,000 a year. Instead of a tax hike, we will pass a middle class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans.
FFPAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
Brian Stiles said he's proud of his extreme record. So why is he lying about it?
Stiles said he was proud to be part of a group pushing to gut Social Security and Medicare, that he proudly supports abortion bans. And Brian Stiles said he's proud to be backed by extremists pushing a total ban nationwide. Peter Barca's backed by police, firefighters, and unions because Peter puts Wisconsin first, no matter the party, and that's something to be proud of.
I'm Peter Barca, and I approve this message.
The Final Drive high school football coverage, Fridays at 10.
New tonight. Can you tell us what you're thinking at this moment right here? Stephen Colbert's new with Vice President Kamala Harris tonight on CBS.
Well, a woman in Washington State calls the authorities about some masked bandits outside her home, but not the kind you're probably thinking of. Police say the woman's home was surrounded by nearly 100 raccoons. She told deputies she'd been leaving food out for the animals, get this, since the 1980s.
Yeah, that will do it.
They apparently found out, hey, we're here. Trapping and relocating them will cost the woman $500, they say, per raccoon.
Oh.
That's not cheap, folks. The moral of the story, avoid feeding wild animals or you may have to pay the price. Well, on a much more serious note, a lot of folks in Wisconsin, as you mentioned, our thoughts and prayers with the folks down in Florida. A lot of folks up here, you know, we all know somebody down there in Florida, somewhere we vacation there. This is a very serious system heading for the west coast of Florida.
Yeah, honestly, this storm for Tampa might be what Katrina was for New Orleans as well as Harvey for Houston. I mean, we haven't seen a storm hit Tampa like this in our lifetime. I believe the package we had earlier said over 100 years. So this is a pretty strong system. Category 5 storm. It actually decreased to a Category 4 and then strengthened back to a Category 5. We could be seeing this possibly even worse than Helene, at least in Florida. We may not see, you know, some of the devastation we saw in the Carolinas, but still, again, thoughts and prayers go down to those folks.
Absolutely. We'll be keeping a close eye on that over the next 24 hours. Folks, thanks for joining us.